Chapter 2: The Incredible Power of Your Mind. Please calm down. Don't be scared. Stop crying. Why are you so upset? Come on, that is no reason to feel bad. Do you recall receiving such advice while being in the middle of an emotional outburst? Could you pull yourself together immediately? Or did it take a while to put a lid on your gushing feelings? You had already thought of calming down, hadn't you? But you just did not know how to do it. We have all experienced moments when someone's well meaning advice seemed unsolicited. It is akin to telling a person who trips and falls, "You should have walked carefully." Perhaps no one knows it better than him. After all, he is the one in pain. Observe your mental space. Reflect on these questions. First, what is the thought on your mind right now? Second, are you thinking about the content you are reading? Third, are you reading the text but are your thoughts somehow drifting towards a completely unrelated topic? Fourth, are you able to hold your present thought for a few seconds? Fifth, are you unable to really interpret what you are thinking? We do not usually observe or recognize our thoughts, but now would be a good time to become aware. Pause, withdraw your attention from your surroundings for 20 seconds and observe what is going on inside your mind. There is always a constant flow of thoughts. Where do you feel them arising? From your heart, gut, brain, or somewhere around the center of your forehead? It is around the center of the forehead where thoughts can be felt. Notice that when you overthink or when your thoughts are cluttered, your forehead region feels heavy or aches. What are thoughts? Thoughts are a conversation or an inner dialogue with our own self. Thoughts are like scripts created by the mind, naturally, automatically, and endlessly. A thought can be an idea, an opinion, a question, an answer, and so on. The purpose of a thought is to prompt us to take one or more meaningful actions and create a desired outcome. Every human creation, every discovery, and every invention is a consequence of a thought in someone's mind. The mind churns out an unceasing flow of thoughts related to various events, people, ourselves, situations, objects, places, just about anything. Much like every blink, pulse, breathe, and heartbeat, our thoughts are also incessant. What you think is how you feel. The mind has two primary functions: the creation of thoughts and the subsequent creation of feelings, emotions. A thought arises in the mind. A series of thoughts give rise to a feeling. Consider these examples of thoughts and the corresponding feelings they generate in the mind of a person. Thought: I am so grateful I have this home to call mine. Feeling: gratitude. Thought: I am happy that my friend bought a lovely home today. Feeling: happiness. Thought: this small home helps me stay closer to and bond better with my family. Feeling: love. Thought: this house is so small and stuffy. Feeling: dissatisfaction. Thought: my friend bought a spacious house which I could not afford. Feeling: jealousy. Thought: My colleague is coming home. He may ridicule me for living here. Feeling worry. The same person is referring to the same house on different occasions. Notice that different thoughts evoke different feelings and emotions. We often pay attention to our feelings rather than to our thoughts. We usually understand and express feelings that we are feeling low, happy, upset, or angry. But we do not pay much attention to our thoughts. We use the word thought only when referring to an idea or opinion. For instance, we say, I had a thought, I have an idea, or I think this is how it works. Our feelings are a result of a series of thoughts. If we want to change how we feel, we need to reflect on the quality of thoughts we are creating at the moment and change them. Changing our thoughts is the only way to change our feelings. Your experience is your choice. Our thoughts create our experiences. In other words, we experience whatever we think. This means experiencing feelings like happiness, peace, calmness, and cheerfulness is only one thought away. This is why we should learn to create pure, positive, and nice thoughts, irrespective of the situational stimulus. Consider these example scenarios. Scenario 1. Suppose your colleague and you are headed together for an important business meeting but get stranded in traffic en route. Let us look at a few thoughts that could arise in such a situation. Your colleague says, I am afraid we might get late. If the client reaches before us, it will be embarrassing. Besides, our boss will certainly hold it against us. His thoughts give him an experience of fear, anxiety, worry, and restlessness. You maintain composure and say, relax, the traffic will clear up and we will reach in time. Everything will be perfect today. Your thoughts give you an experience of peace, optimism, and faith. Even if both of you reach the office late and get an earful from your supervisors, your colleague might not have the power to cope since his energy was already spent in worrying. But you will have the energy to face the scene calmly with stability. Think about this. Both of you were in the same situation. If the stimulus was responsible for creating your responses and experiences, then both of you would have created the same thoughts and experienced the same emotions. But that did not happen. It shows that our responses are our choice, regardless of the stimulus. Scenario 2. Let us reflect on a common scene at home. When a challenging circumstance arises, each family member thinks and feels differently. One member remarks, I am worried about this huge problem. The second says, the problem is not huge. We can overcome it. The third member quips, I do not see any problem. This is just a trivial issue. If a stimulus was to create their thoughts, all the three family members would have identical thoughts and feelings. But that is not the case. Someone magnifies a situation through their thoughts. Someone else plays it down with a different kind of thought. This is why different people label situations differently as chaos, crisis, mess, problem, issue, or scenario. The gravity of any situation depends on how we choose to think about it. Reducing the size of a situation in our mind helps us to overpower it rather than getting overpowered by it. Scenario 3. We often meet people who have huge emotional reactions even to a slight cold or a fever. They magnify the illness by creating thoughts like, oh, this cold is terrible, fever is tiring me, what if I do not recover soon? On the other hand, we also come across individuals who battle terminal illnesses, remaining emotionally resilient. Their body undergoes extreme suffering but not their mind. They say, I have accepted the situation. I will not let it overpower my mind. I want to spend the remaining days joyfully. A positive mindset helps us cope better, lowers the sense of pain and distress, increases immunity, and even extends lifespans in some cases. Many patients make unexpected and spectacular recoveries, defying the predictions of medical science. They prove that health of the body does not create our feelings, but our feelings influence the health of our body. The three example scenarios prove that situations do not create our responses and experiences, but our responses influence our situations. It is always, not just sometimes, mind over matter. Every thought counts. Our thoughts, words, actions, and behaviors constitute our karma. The law of karma states, as will be our karma, so will be our destiny. Thoughts are the starting point, and destiny is where it all culminates. In fact, every thought that the mind creates amounts to our karma. Thus, our mind is not only the space where karma is first created, but it is also where most of our karmas are created, as our thoughts outnumber our words and actions. Don't we all know individuals who tap into the power of their thoughts to perform feats or achieve goals that are labeled as miracles? They create thoughts of steely determination, faith, and power, and then act on their thoughts to win against all odds. Helen Keller, who lost her vision and hearing before the age of 2, was more than just a symbol of courage. She dedicated her life to improving the conditions of those facing hearing and vision impairment through her lectures in over 25 countries. Dr. Stephen Hawking became wheelchair bound when he was only 21 years old. Although his mobility and speech got affected, he went on to become a distinguished scientist, proving that physical disabilities need not become mental barriers. The mind and its superpower. Think of a relative who lives in another country. Think of your next door neighbor. Think of a vacation you went on 2 years ago. What was the color of your school uniform? The mind and its superpower. Think of a relative who lives in another country. Think of your next door neighbor. Think of a vacation you went on 2 years ago. What was the color of your school uniform? How long did it take to think of each of them? Perhaps not more than a second or two. Our mind works at a fast speed, and our thoughts also travel quickly. Remaining wherever you are right now, you can radiate a thought to someone who lives on a different continent, because thoughts travel as energy vibrations. Everything in the universe is energy. This means at every moment each of us vibrate energetically at a particular frequency. Our vibration refers to the quality of our energy. It is the cumulative result of our intentions, thoughts, feelings, words, and actions at any given moment. Just as radio frequencies can be heard but not seen, our vibrations can be felt but not seen. The word vibe is derived from vibrations. When we pay careful attention, we can feel the vibes of another person. The mind does not have a physical form that we can see or touch, unlike the brain. Note that the mind is separate from the brain, though some people wrongly refer to them interchangeably. The brain is a physical organ, while the mind is more intangible as it is energy. The mind creates a thought and sends a signal to the brain. The brain then brings that thought into action through the body. Nurture your child. Mine is a monkey mind, too fickle to stay still. Controlling my mind is as difficult as controlling the wind. Mind is like a fast galloping horse running absolutely uncontrolled. You might have heard someone speak this way about the mind. You might have spoken this way too, but these statements are far from the truth. It is only because we have not paid enough attention to our mind and its workings that it comes across as being untamed or unruly at times. Visualize a mother taking care of her infant. Suppose she is alone and needs to complete all the housework as well. She leaves the child in the cradle and goes about her course. But while doing everything, she frequently checks if her child is playing, sleeping, crying, or needs anything. To take care of the child, she does not neglect the house. And to take care of the house, she does not neglect her infant. She is responsible for both, but her child is her first priority, followed by the house. If the child starts crying, she immediately withdraws from her work and goes to her child, tends to the child's needs, consoles the child, and then returns to work. The mind is like our child. It is the child within. We need to take care of it while taking care of other aspects like home, health, family, and career. Our first priority should always be the state of our mind. While going about other tasks, this child, our mind, might start crying, which means it might start feeling irritated, angry, scared, stressed, or hurt. Or it might even start questioning why this, why that, why the other. At that moment, we need to immediately withdraw from our task for a minute. Listen to what the mind is saying, counsel it, silence its chatter, and then resume our task. When a child makes a mistake, we lovingly correct and teach her the right way to do something. The same needs to be done with our mind. This child within is not in our control today, only because no one has taught us what to think, how to think, or how much to think. We need to parent our mind and teach it about the rights and wrongs. We need to discipline this child with love and assertiveness rather than using aggression. Our mind learns whatever it is taught and obediently follows every instruction we give. Similarly, while dealing with others, let us remember that we are dealing with the child within them. If we say to ourselves, I cannot trust people ever again, our mind, which is listening to us, accepts that statement. Thereafter, before we meet people, our mind starts chattering. Do not trust this person. You cannot trust anyone. But suppose one day we tell our mind, let me trust people. It makes my life easy. From that day on, we start teaching the child within another way of being. Even if the mind continues doubting people due to past experiences, we just need to patiently remind it, no more doubting others. I trust everyone. Very soon, the mind will learn and follow our instruction. Can you ever stop thinking? Whether we are idle in the middle of an important task, meditating, or sleeping, our mind never ceases to think. Did you know that thoughts are created even when a person is in a coma and even after a soul leaves the body? In other words, there comes a moment when our heart stops beating, the pulse vanishes, and our breath comes to a halt. But even then, our mind continues to create thoughts. Do take a moment to appreciate the relentless nature of the mind. An electron electroncephalogram EEG, which has an array of other uses, shows that our mind creates tens of thousands of thoughts in a single day. When the mind is relaxed, peaceful, and calm, the number of thoughts come down. When it is stressed, aggressive, or anxious, the number of thoughts shoots up. Remember, every thought makes you feel a certain way: comforted, confused, delighted, resentful, fearless. Take another moment to ask yourself, how many out of the thousands of daily thoughts I have are pure, positive, and comfortable? Although emptying the mind and becoming thought free sounds tempting, it is impossible. The aim should not be to stop thinking, but to discipline the mind to think right. Heading: 4 kinds of thoughts. Knowing that the mind is creating thoughts throughout the day after day, year after year, birth after birth, one may wonder if the mind ever feels exhausted. It is not the quantity, but the quality of thoughts that decide if our mind feels fresh or tired. This is why we need to spend a few minutes every day to observe our thought patterns, of what we think about ourselves and how we think about other people, situations, and the world at large. Broadly, our thoughts can be classified into 4 types: pure, neutral, toxic, or wasteful. First, pure thoughts. These are elevated, positive, powerful, and selfless in nature. Pure thoughts are of peace, compassion, love, happiness, forgiveness, gratitude, contentment, kindness, and acceptance. They are free from attachments and expectations. They equip us to see the best in every person and situation. We do not question, complain, judge, or criticize when our thoughts are pure. Creating pure thoughts does not mean we expect the best to happen at every moment. It just means we accept that whatever happens is accurate for that moment. Thoughts of acceptance keep us stable and empower us to put in our best in the next moment and influence the situation. Also, creating pure thoughts does not imply that we overlook or endorse other people's mistakes. It just means that we do not let our state of mind get affected by them. Pure thoughts enable us to remain stable and then discipline or advise the other person. Let us remember that our mind cannot instantly create a series of pure thoughts when a challenging situation arises. Such thoughts result from consistent and systematic practice. Second, neutral thoughts. These are thoughts pertaining to our activities or actions, ranging from the mundane to the sophisticated. They often relate to our roles and responsibilities in personal and professional life. Examples of neutral thoughts are I need to do this. What is her phone number? Or he will meet me next week. These thoughts are neutral since we are neither creating positive nor negative energy through them, which means we are neither energizing our inner power nor depleting it. But often, in a subtle and unaware way, we pile up negative and wasteful thoughts as a follow up to neutral thoughts. For instance, it is time for breakfast is a neutral thought, but we often follow it up with thoughts like why is it not ready on time? The dining table is also not set. Don't they know their job even after all these years? No matter how much I explain, they will never understand. In this series of thoughts, there is only one neutral thought, which is it is time for breakfast. The remaining are either negative or wasteful. Third, toxic thoughts. These are clearly harmful as they take away our peace and stability. Thoughts of ego, anger, greed, hatred, fear, criticism, disagreement, laziness, bias, jealousy, and stress are toxic or negative. Such thoughts are driven by selfish motives and expectations. So, creating them neither benefits the situation nor the people involved. The mind is habituated to creating several toxic thoughts as soon as a situation is not favorable. If we do not pause and change the toxic thoughts created in one scene, we tend to carry the emotional disturbance into a subsequent scene and turn that also into a negative experience. This cascading effect causes our mind to accumulate negative thoughts and emotions. Over prolonged periods, they harm our emotional, mental, and physical health and our relationships. Fourth, wasteful thoughts. Carrying no constructive purpose, these thoughts are exactly what they are labeled wasteful. We often spend unreasonable amounts of time thinking, why did he have to do that? What if I do not get admission in that university? Or look at how she behaves. When we get into the why, where, when, and how of things which are not in our control, our mind starts creating a series of wasteful thoughts. These thoughts dwell on the events we can do nothing about, like ruminating or reminiscing about the past and anticipating or worrying about the future. Even deliberating other people's behavior and forming opinions about things not concerning us are wasteful thoughts. They might seem harmless, but they are silently harming us by tiring the mind and wasting our limited time and energy. Whether we had to face hardship at work, someone betrayed us, or a relationship failed, the incident has already happened and we cannot do anything about it now. Research shows that 85% of our daily thoughts are wasteful. We can do the math of the remaining 15%. What is the percentage of negative and neutral thoughts? And how small is the percentage of pure thoughts? Creating one negative or wasteful thought after another depletes our mental energy reserves. This is why we feel mentally tired or fatigued, even when leading physically comfortable lives. But our mind, which creates over 85% of wrong thoughts, is perfectly capable of creating 100% pure and elevated thoughts. This is our potential, and that is the journey of soul strengthening that we have embarked on. Chapter 2 complete.